Hey everyone, what I was going to work on is get a regular pool ball. I chose number 1 and do something stupid with it. And what I want to do is I want to turn it into a cube. I want to make it square just to see if I can, and sand it down and go through the process of using a regular sanding drum on my Dremel to get the sides. I don't have a belt sander, so I can't get it perfectly flat, but I'm going to try my best on working with it. And the thing with pool balls, I don't think this one is actually going to be a number 1 on there, because I think it only goes down to about 1/4 of an inch, and I think I need to sand it just a little bit farther to meet the 90 on the top part. But I'm going to go with the sanding drum. It'll be about a 60 grit, and then I'll go up to the next one. Maybe it might be 100 grit, I don't know, or 80. And then I'll start going through the sandpaper. I'll use 100, then I'll go to 150, then I'll go to 220, then to 320, then to 400, then to 600, and then I'll use the wet for like water for wet sanding it at the 600. And then I have some buffing wheels for my Dremel. I'll use the compound that comes with it. We'll see how that works. And then I'll use some car wax. Well, I might polish it up. It might be it's a little finer than the rubbing compound I get, so to give it a nice polish. So let's get started. I'm going to have to find all the center spots and then sand a little bit at a time on each side, and then sand it down, because if you sand down too far, it'll be off. You wouldn't have it square. So this is just a theory that I'm going to have to sand a little bit on each side and work with it as I go, and I'll put a pencil mark to where I have to sand, and then when I work that one, I go to the next pencil mark, sand that a little bit, and then go to the next pencil mark. When I get all the pencil marks sanded off, then I'll go back and put more pencil marks on each spot, and then sand each side down until all the corners meet. Like on this top, all the 90 corners meet, and then we'll see how that works. I don't know how I'm going to check it for square. I just have to eyeball it, I guess. But this is what I'm going to have to do. Now go back and mark these sides that I already did. I got to work on these two, and then I'll mark these two, and then I'll sand them, and then I'll go back and sand again. Well, I'm getting a little farther. It's working. Just the one side, the one sanded off. This side, it looks like I sanded down less on this side than this side. I don't know. And this side, it rubbed off because it only goes so deep. But keep working at it. You see the corners are starting to get closer and closer. Now, if I see a larger gap on this side or that side, I'll work on that side a little bit more. I'm trying to keep it as flat as I can. It's not the easiest thing. I was going to measure each one and figure it out how wide I got it and sand on which one was smaller, but I just figured I'm just going to eyeball it and go with that. I'm going to see how close we can get it. Well, as you can see, I'm getting a lot of it done, and I have to keep sanding these until this gap here closes on all the sides. And once again, I just eyeball how big it is and everything like that. I could measure across there and figure out which one needs more sanding, but I ain't going to go through that much trouble. And then after these are closed, I still have this gap I have to fill in. So I'll just keep sanding them until that closes and it'll be a square. But that's what I'm doing this morning. I've got to start now. I'm a little bit more in, and you can see I got to sand these parts down. And what I'm doing is I'll sand at an angle around it, and then I'll flatten it, so it you know, lets me know how far I got to go. But that's what I'm getting so far. Got to knock these edges off. And here's the final product. I used some car wax on it with a little buffing wheel for my Dremel. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Probably put it on the top of a walking stick.